Hey, what's up, my little TisaTells? Oh, welcome to our special crayon edition of Real Housewives of Potomac. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Don't forget, our members only live tonight is tonight at 7:30 p.m. Make sure you sign up. We have court documents. We have whatever. We're getting deep into Kim and Kanye. And we're also looking at the media stunt that both of them are pulling. Plus, some updates on Kanye's love life. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get serious, right? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, T-Joe, thank you so much for joining TisaTells. You guys, we have really got to talk to Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, the first thing I want to say is to start this off, where do I find the words? Oh, yes, I told you guys so. Remember last season when I said this is pure colorism, and everybody was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Candace got an attitude. Candace got this. Also, for the sake of my monetization, we're going to use the term Crayola crayons, okay? Just to make sure that my channel can keep going, right? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, what's up? Hey, where are we? Macy said, I feel like this is going to be a mess depending on who calls in. I pray a slice give people don't walk in the spirit of Fandy. I'm sorry. How do you say her name now? Thondiwi, right? Anyway, I actually like her name better than the regular name. Anyway, right? So I don't want to say I told you so, not to you guys, but remember when we were all last season saying, you guys, what is happening is colorism. We have somebody like Candace, and this is not in defense of Candace. She doesn't need any defense right now. Candace is living her best life. But you see the way they treated Candace. You see the way they treated Wendy. You see low key the way they treated Monique, right? Because I know every time they looked at Monique, they were like, Cameron, hold on. Tell Chris to move out the way. I know every time they saw Monique, they literally pulled that paper bag out and was like, depending on whether she had just come back from the south of Mexico or whether she had been wearing sunblock that week, I know they were holding that bag up like, I don't know how I feel about you, Monique. I really honestly think that's true. When Ashley told, and as somebody with dry edges, right? When Ashley literally told Candace that she had, that look at your edges are dry. And everybody was like, what's the big deal? Her edges are dry. Now, I can understand people not from the community feeling this way. But the fact that another Black person actually talked to me and said, well, what's wrong with that? That's not colorist. To which I posed a question that nobody's been able to answer. Since everybody that says that what's going on is colorism, and these people are saying, no, you guys are wrong. I said, well, since you guys are the authority of what it is, why don't you tell me what a Crayola crayon looks like? Tell me what that looks like, and then I'll tell you if I've experienced it. Because clearly when people tell you that they're experiencing something, that's not enough for you guys to believe, right? It wasn't enough. People were sitting there like the judge and jury of Crayola crayons. Doesn't sound like Crayola crayons to me. No, I don't see anything. If that's the case, everybody start writing down what in their minds it is, and then people can tell you if they've experienced it, and then you will have something you can believe. But what did we do? We ignored it. We made excuses for it because some people did, and that's why I always say, when someone is dragging someone you don't like, right? Sometimes it's deserved, sometimes it's not. But when somebody is doing something unjust, if you don't like the person, I know there's something in our hearts that's just like, yeah, finish them. It's like your worst enemy being unfairly arrested for no reason by the police and thrown in jail for the rest of their life. They might be your worst enemy. They might have reasons that they need, but when you see someone being treated unjustly, if you stand there and let it happen and you cheer it on, eventually it comes to your door. That's why they say that people must be treated equally, because eventually the dumb ish that they were over there with, they're going to bring to your door as soon as they don't like it. Case in point. We ignored it. We let it go. As somebody with nappy edges, right? You see this edge control. I don't even come out the house if I don't have edge control, literally. You see, as somebody with edges that literally be fighting me, just be hating on me, waking up in the morning, as somebody with that, when she said you got dry edges, I said, Ashley stood on national TV and told a woman that she had, that's why you got nappy edges. Ashley, why she had a haystack on the back of her head. Didn't know, and everybody's just like, no, but Candace's hair do be dry. Did no one notice that Ashley's hair is always dry? Ashley, not only is her hair dry, but Ashley likes a color that makes her hair look like straw. It looks like Ashley is going premature gray, or maybe that's just her natural hair color. I don't know, right? It needs some type of darkening rinse, lightening rinse. Just pick a lane. My whole point isn't to drag Ashley, right? My issues is, oh, hold on, guys. Okay, sorry. My issue is that when it comes to things like that, my issue honestly is that, you know, how do you say it? How do you actually say that it's colorism without saying colorism? Because everybody had a bunch of excuses, right? Ashley, when Ashley told Candace, you're just mad because this face can walk into any room and be accepted. And I sat there and I was like, Ashley's being colorist, right? They did not stay around me, but I've had a few people make colorist comments around me because they thought it would be like key, right? Until you check them. Much like people might make comments about other races, why they're having a key, and you're just like, ain't shit funny. I literally recognize that as, okay, this is also colorism. Everybody said, no. Well, again, you guys act, what did Ashley mean by that? What does she mean? Why? They're both pageant winners. Quiet as it's kept. Candace is more accomplished in pageants. She's gotten into more pageant rooms. So what do you mean she's just jealous that your face can walk into any room and be accepted, right? Ashley, when she was with Michael and the way Michael was allowed to talk to the women on stage like they were dirt. And every time somebody spoke up, calm down, right? When Candace saw Michael and Chris go at it, nobody called them aggressive. Nobody called them anything. And Candace was like, this is privilege right here, right? When Giselle, when Robin, I say all this to say, we've now culminated that Giselle and Robin, the two tackiest people on the Real Housewives of Potomac, are sitting there keying in all their hearts, making racist jokes. Well, I can't even say racist, making self-hating jokes and making colorist jokes about James Harden and his beard. I don't know, guys. What do you think? I thought they were pure colorists. You can't tell me they weren't. They spang of colorism. They spang of elitism. They spang of paper bag test. It reeked of paper bag test, colorism, racism. It reeked of a lot of things. It reeked of Jack and Jill-itis. Now, I'm not saying Jack and Jill's are like this. I'm saying that they had, back in the day, they had a reputation for it. Maybe they got rid of that, but back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, they had a reputation for, let's get that paper bag and that ruler test, right? So now, do we have a problem? Yes, but not in the way you think, because there are so many people online talking about some, let's see, hold on. Uplifting Depression, thank you so much for the super chat, said, I don't know why people do not call out Giselle's opening headline about staying in the shade, point out all the prejudice comments. I've been waiting. Listen, Giselle and Robin, Giselle specifically, Giselle is going to have a problem as she gets older. Giselle literally is the epitome of pretty privilege. I don't mean Giselle's not talented, because she is, and she's smart. And, I'm not going to take away Giselle's gifts just because she's a colorist, in my opinion. And this is all my opinion. Y'all can tell me what y'all think, right? Giselle's problem is she lives in a world and grew up in a world where for a while she was the epitome of what beauty was, the height, the epitome. There was a time frame, and thank y'all for pointing out the School Days wasn't in 1997. Fine. School Days is 1980s, 1988. Sorry, guys. All right. Y'all know me, right? I paint with a broad brush, right? School Days was 1988. Don't drag me if I don't got the year right, but it was definitely in the late 80s, early 90s. At that time where Giselle was in, I believe Luke dancers were in around that time too. Giselle got those ham hock legs. Ain't nothing wrong with them. I'm just saying her body shape, her leg shape, her ankle shape, clearly her style, because she's still dressing out of her closet, her dorm room closet from 1988 from Hampton U, right? Her light skin, her blonde hair, her light eyes was the pinnacle of beauty. Like I said in my video, it's like if you were Caucasian, right? And there was a time where only blonde hair, blue-eyed women were considered beautiful. Yes, I know that Kim Kardashian changed the game, but that's something recent. It used to be that if you didn't have a pancake booty, you were grotesque, you were misshapen. Let's be real. Listen, all my Caucasian tattletales, I know y'all in here listening. Shout out to the United Coats of Bennington. But honestly, there used to be a time that if you had hips, if you had any type of butt, you were considered disgusting. They wanted you straight up and down like a pencil. Literally turn to the side and see that pencil skirt, just straight up and down. Now everybody want that donkey. Everybody want that cake. It, again, the same way you can make an analogy to what beauty standard used to be even in other cultures. Giselle was a beauty icon for the African-American community. She was. Not her specifically, get what I'm saying. Giselle sits in her mean girlness because of that. Because Giselle was such a formidable beauty. And when I say formidable, there's something about being beautiful, but there's also something about fitting into what society deems beautiful, that you link up and you got that Voltron like nexus of hotness. There is power in beauty. That's why men always try to control women. That's why men, stupid men, take so much delight when a woman gets older. Because now you're getting the power. The same way a woman would take delight if an ugly man lost his money. Yeah, now you on my level. There is power in beauty. And there's no shame in saying that. There's power in being smart. There's power in being beautiful. There's power in being rich. There's power in being kind. There's power in being cruel. I'm not saying that's the only power, but let's call a spade a spade. There's power in that. Giselle sits in that power. But part of that power is encapsulated in colorism. The most plain light-skinned girl is prettier than the most beautiful girl that's darker than this. And that's where they sit. Robin, I can't figure out whether Robin's just a lackey or whether she sits in that too. No, she was kikiing. Robin sits in that too. The thing that shocked me though were the people that were sitting there talking about some, oh my God, y'all being too sensitive. The people that are just like with their fake. If there's one thing that gets on my nerves, it's somebody fake laughing or like studying somebody, copying them, imitating you. Yo, just be yourself. Even if you don't got any personality, be your old Mel self. That is a personality, not having a personality. But my whole point is, the people are just like, I don't know. These were troubling comments. Do you think it's color? What do you think? These are problematic because you don't want to offend anybody. But the reason why it's so bad not wanting to offend anybody and calling a spade is because they keep on doing that. And you know, I'm not going to get too deep into it. I'm about to drop the call link. I'm not going to get deep into it. But you know that old saying, right? The people that will be left out of heaven are the hypocrites. And I'm not wishing hell on anyone, but I will say that the people that will be left out of heaven are the hypocrites, because hypocrites are the most worst, disgusting type of people. It don't matter at the end of the day. I mean, it does, but at the end of the day, it don't matter what your opinion is. Just have an opinion. Stand for something. Stand for something. Don't sit there and get in the shadows. Was this problematic? Yeah, hell yeah, it was problematic. Tell me why it wasn't, and tell me with your chest why it wasn't. Don't head into, doesn't look like it to me. Who are you? A negative doesn't make something up. Tell me why it's not. But nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody just wants to act like they didn't hear it. Everybody just, people will sit there and jump on bandwagons. Oh my God, support other Black women. We need to be kinder to each other. But when you see somebody doing something that requires for you to get off your moral high horse and take a goddamn stand and call a spade, you want to be quiet because you waiting for the crowd to tell you that it's colorism. You waiting for the crowd to tell you that it's okay to take a stand. And then once they do, you're the main person being like, oh no, seriously. The thing that shocks me most about this colorism issue is the fact that so many people, understand it, know what it is. They're either turning a blind eye or they're literally trying to gaslight people, talking about, I don't see how that's colorism. You don't see how somebody literally being a whole box of Crayola crayons. Literally, it's literally people that just chase clout. The same people that couldn't say a word about what was going on up in Gaza, couldn't say a word of what was going on in Syria, couldn't say a word about what was going on in Haiti when they were riding on horses and whipping people. All of a sudden, you got pray for Ukraine in your bio. Now, I'm not saying Ukraine doesn't need to be prayed for. I mean, they need to pray for the racism in Ukraine. But what I am saying is those are the worst type of people, because you don't even believe in anything. All you are a clout chaser. And even the things that you are supposed to be dear to your heart, that you're supposed to rock with and stand 10 toes down, you're such a shadow of a person. You don't even have that, because it's not in you. It's not in you. It's not in you. But you know what is in you? You to sit there and turn the other blind when people are being oppressed. And colorism is a form of oppression. And we see the results of it every single day. And if you have not experienced it, or you don't have a loved one that experienced it, congratulations. You are the exception to the rule. But again, the fact that when we see people talking about his beard had chicken, talking about there was watermelon in his beard, talking about weed, and people are like, well, I mean, how's that colorism? You mean to tell me Giselle and Robin would have said that about an Arab man that had a beard? The hipsters in Brooklyn that got beards? You would have said, so it looks like fried chicken, watermelon, 40 ounces, and he smells like weed? And y'all want to tell me that this isn't about the complexion, and this isn't about characters and internal stereotypes and internal hate that we have? Listen, here's the thing, right? And let's have an honest discussion about this. There are power hierarchies everywhere. And we spend our lives in a capitalistic society, because I can only talk about a capitalistic society because that's the one I grew up in, right? Y'all can talk, like, listen, it's the only one I can talk about and refer to, because that's what. But as a capitalistic society, American capitalistic, because things are different in the EU. For all y'all saying no, it ain't. Yes, it is. I'm telling you, as an American that's lived all over, it's 100% different. It's even different in the UK. It's not easier, but it's different. As an American that grew up in an American capital, we are literally bred from the time we're young to climb to the top of their hierarchy. That's the American dream, to climb to the top of the hierarchy. We know there are hierarchies everywhere. Even in grade school, there are hierarchies. Who's cool, who's popular, who's rich, who's pretty, who's smart. We put everybody in different social groups, different archetypes, and then we see who's the best out of that. Americans are competitive as hell. We are. I'm not ashamed of it. We are. That's part of our culture. There are different hierarchies. So why is it so hard for people to understand that if race has a hierarchy, one that we are trying to destroy, and I hope in my lifetime, or even my grandbaby's lifetime, right? Fingers crossed I'm getting grandbabies, right? Great grandbabies. I hope in my bloodline, in my lifetime, it'll be burnt down to the ground. I hope it'll be burnt down to the ground. But why is it so hard to accept? There's also hierarchy in looks. There's also hierarchy in complexion. Anything that this society that is built on racism has told us is number one means that there's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And even in our internal groups, we have made a hierarchy. But why can't we admit that? Why? Because for some, I think they can't admit it because it benefits them. I think some can't admit it because they are too cowardly to go against the norm, because it's more important not to cause any waves and be light, because they're trying to get in where they fit in, right? Hey, Rim, thank you so much. No, they have not issued an apology yet. And let me tell y'all something. This is important. SS says, Robin's genetic makeup is a definition of some Latinos' DNA background. Listen, let me just say this. Rim, thank you so much for the super chat. Don't forget, we do have our members only live, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know this is a little bit serious conversation, but in the members only live, we're going to be dragging. It's going to be really, 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 really good, right? Make sure you sign up or renew your memberships. It doesn't matter. The Church of TisaTells takes everyone, reformed sinners or not. So it don't matter. It don't matter. Come back into the flock. Let us embrace you in our shadiness. We are dragging, and I got some tea. You know how it is, but it's going to be good. But here's my whole thing I want to say about the Robin thing. Don't mistake me for my thing on colorism on a thing about who's really Black. I'll just say this. Any Black American that is literally the descendants of enslaved people. Stop it. Stop it. There is not one person that's an ADOS that if you get a 23andMe has less than 25%, has more than 75% African. Usually it falls somewhere between 26% and 63%. We know what our history did to us. We know the way our family trees look. We know in a family of more than 3 people, everybody can come out a different complexion. And we know that in America, race is a social construct. It is. It's a social construct. And let me tell y'all something also. The fact of saying that Robin and they are very, very light-skinned, but I'll be the first to say they don't pass. They don't pass. Let me tell you something. The same way I am Black American, I can look at another Black person and be like, yeah, like you're from Africa or you're from Haiti or you're from, the same way I can tell. I 100% will let you know that white communities that are racist can tell when somebody is not white. If you literally, to actually say Robin is Black. Both her parents identify as Black. They are Black. To actually take away her Blackness, to me, is just as bad as the colorist conversation. It really is. Because especially back then, we're not getting into the paper club. We're not getting into this. We're not getting into that. For God's sakes, like, we're just not getting into that. I will just say from my channel, I know what it is to be a Black American. If you do not understand the reason why we come like in all colors and shapes, I'm not going to give you a history lesson, but I'm not going to take away anybody's Blackness either. I'm just not. I'm not. Yes, some people come out. Yes. Okay, fine. That's a genetic code. I'm still not taking out. I know Katie was after Robin, but honestly, Katie has her own issues because Katie was mad that you have an actual white parent and you still came out. You're like Browns, you're like Holly Berry mix. And Katie's problem is that she's mad that she is easily identified as Black. She's mad. She's mad. She's mad. Again, let me get into this, right? Let me get into this. Let's say, hold on, let's see. Hold on, I have another super chat. Let me just get my super chat. Hey, Lori, thank you so much for joining. And you guys, make sure you rejoin the TisaTells. It's going to be the best time of your life. We're just going to be on live, living life. Just saying we were living life. But anyway, let me drop this call-in link. All right, let me stop playing and drop this call-in link. Listen, I just have a few rules for call-in, right? I'm going to bring everybody up one at a time. I'm going to let everybody have their say. That's fine. Be respectful. Please don't say anything that will get me demonetized. If we are talking about the issue, please, no cursing. If we're talking about the issue, please refer to them as a box of Crayola crayons. You know, that's how we beat it. Listen. Yeah, that's the thing. Listen, Tiffany, I caught that too. Listen, you guys, there are 257 people in this live chat. Y'all, please hit the like button. Hit the like button and show me some love. I know it's been a while. I know like some people were like, that's why you behind the Abby, because you too ugly. Bitch, here I go. What's up? What's up? Let's talk. Listen, you said, the Atlantic Creole said, hey, sis, continue to spill the tea. I'm going to spill right now. I will say this right before I bring on the callers. You guys, we literally have to stop this decisiveness. Literally kicking people out of being Black when both their parents literally were identified as Black. See, this is what y'all don't remember. Things have changed. You know, people look at, and that's the last thing I'm gonna say before I break. You know, people look at people and they say, oh my God, she's a white passing Latino. She's a white passing Arab woman. She's a white passing Black woman. Let me tell you what's happened in the last 15 years in American culture, right? Erotic currency. Men have financial currency. That's the way our patriarchal society is. You guys know I always talk about erotic currency. But there's also something called erotic colonization. The same way men will colonize, take extraction capitalism, women of conquering races, and I'm not, listen, let's just hear it out. It is erotic colonization. Do you guys realize that 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago, to be a beautiful white woman meant you had no hips, no beauty. You have, no booty, right? Interchangeable. You have blonde hair, blue eyes. This was a standard that even a lot of white women fell flat from, right? That's why they dyed their hair blonde. Contact lenses were invented, this and that, right? They starved themselves skinny. I will say in the Black culture, it's never really been in to be skinny. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like, not to aspire to be. If you're skinny, it's cool, but nobody aspired to be a stick, right? In the last 30 years, through plastic surgery, through self-tanners, through lip injections, through eye surgery, through implants, through fillers, through BBLs, through everything, through a liposuction, women that bear no resemblance to women of color have now embraced this standard of beauty that was never naturally theirs. So when you see a Black woman and you say, oh, you're white passing, when you see a Latino woman and you say, oh, you're white, when you see an Arab woman and you say, oh, you're white passing, no, they are not. You have been brainwashed into thinking that the Kardashians naturally look like the Kardashians. You have been brainwashed into thinking all these Instagram influencers are what a regular white woman looks like. Now, listen, no shade to white women. I'm not calling. Please don't take this. My Caucasian tattletales, please don't take this as any type of offense. But what I am saying is, our looks and a certain portion of every culture, even this new foxy eye trends, what is that but people that do not have Eurasian eyes trying to colonize the way Asian women's eyes have that beautiful tilt to them? That is erotic colonization. So please stop telling people of different races, you're white passing this, you're white passing. No! They colonize the looks to the point of now we look at a woman that looks like Kim Kardashian, who looks like basically a Latina, an Arab woman, a light-skinned Latina, a light-skinned Arab woman, a light-skinned Black woman. We are now saying that those women now look like a Kardashian because we consider the Kardashians white. Now, all of a sudden, we need to actually literally just realize, stop saying that about Black women. It's not nice. It's not true. And you're literally feeding into another form of racism. You are. They colonized and co-opted that look. If anything, the influencers, they are Latino passing. They are Arab passing. They are Black woman passing. They are Asian woman passing, not the other way around. Get it straight. I'm just saying. I'm not going to give y'all a thesis. I'm not going to give y'all a thesis on erotic colonization, but that's exactly what's been happening with the plastic surgery. That's it. You're not a white passing Indian. No, Kylie Jenner is a Indian passing white woman. Get it straight. You see what I'm saying? Get it straight. Listen. Okay. So now that we've gotten that thing, we're not taking away Robin's Blackness. Robin is Black because, again, her parents, the era she grew up with, I don't know why. I think it's because everybody's been brainwashed by what influencer look like. Let me tell you something. Robin's parents were not allowed in sundown towns, period, point blank. And they got chased out of sundown towns, just like Naomi Campbell's parents. If you think for one reason, you think they were sitting at the soda fountain with their little bobby socks kicking their legs while all the Negroes got shushed out the back, you are out your mind, because they were considered the same way. So because of that, yes, you are Black. Welcome to the fold. But we're literally now talking about why their daughter is now sitting here on their podcast after everything they've been through and literally treating a Black person the same way their daughter did. Listen, hey, Dr. Payne Nestor, thank you, Mama. What's up? I hope you're feeling better, Mama. Everybody send some healing energy to Dr. Payne Nestor. She had a rough week, but month, but I hope you're feeling much better, right? Marva said, can you tell your followers to start calling me white, Karen, etc.? Listen, whoever's calling Marva honey, anything outside of her name will be blocked. You guys, listen, please don't make me get into my comments again and start doing mass blocks. Don't disrespect anybody at all, especially Marva's butt. Stop it, y'all. Thank you for the super chat, Marva. Don't make me get in my comments and start blocking people, because you know I will. I will. So listen, last thing, Ashley is a colorist. She seems to share the same views as her husband. Michael's a racist, in my opinion, which is to look down on people of color. I checked out Michael's company. Does not hire people. Here's the thing. Thank you for checking out on that. But I will also say this. Michael, that's one of the reasons, in my opinion, he looked down on Ashley, because Ashley came from inferior stock. Ashley's mom was a walking stereotype, and Ashley had to work real hard, had to work real hard to get Michael to think that she was good enough to procreate with him. Real hard. Ashley had to work her butt off to get a 70-year-old that looked like he got leprosy to lay on top of her and give her a baby because he thought that her stock and where she came from and her bloodline wasn't good enough. Let that marinate. Let that marinate. And he did it on national TV. And let that marinate. And then said, and I doubt your ability to be a good mother because your mom wasn't. He basically told her on national TV, it's in the blood. But she had to convince her, my mama told me I would never be like those ninjas. She had to convince them that she was different. And it's funny how now that she feels like she's sitting there, and I believe she is happy that her kids look like little Jim Deans, right? But now that she's there, she sits there on her throne and happy because in her mind, I think Ashley, I've said it before, Ashley plays into her privilege. And you know what? We shouldn't even turn this into a thing on Ashley because let's talk about Giselle and Robin's ass. Because at the end of the day, even Ashley's colorist self ain't up here on our podcast talking mess. Ashley got enough sense. Anyway, let's welcome some people. Let's see. We got and Mel NYC Reviews. What's going on? Long time no see. How are you, Mel? Let's get in here. What you got to say?
Hello, Miss Tisa Diva, honey. That's why I texted you this morning. I was like, have you seen what's going on in the streets? I was like, you got to do this show right now. So I'm happy you're doing it because you were right. Listen, when we did the review of Potomac, you were talking about what you were seeing on the show, which was these sort of undertones of colorism going on. Now, we weren't going to go and call anybody a member of the Ku Klux Klan, never. But there was something going on there that you were bringing to the audience attention, and you had a lot of hard times. You had a lot of hard times with that. And you were right. Now the girls come out with the podcast, and they're talking about watermelon and grease and chicken, and it's just abominable, terrible things. So this is a black man in your community. This is our brother. This is our black brother. And I think that Giselle, for me, as I think somebody said in the chat, and I said to you earlier, she's just basically stuck in the School Days territory. Like I tell anybody about colorism, please watch Spike Lee School Days, and you will see a pure representation of Giselle in college. A person who, there was two sororities. One was a little chocolate and beautiful. One was light skinned. And they basically went at each other based on their features, based on their hair, based on their skin. I think that Giselle still lives in that mindset. You know, she sort of, and I think even, and I was saying in the chat, Karen even said that Wendy, and I love Karen, Wendy is not the right girl for this show. She's not the right person, not the right look. At least that's what brought up at the reunion. And that the idea was that she was, too chocolate or whatever. So I think that there's some undertones going on there, and it's not shocking. It's not shocking at all that this has happened. I want to also say that there is definitely people who, there is a power dynamic in our society, absolutely. And I think that you're right about that. And I think that people do take advantage of that. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, or whatever. There are definitely different power dynamics that happens, and it happens on YouTube too. Excuse me.
Yeah. Mel?
Yeah, I had a little.
Oh, no problem. When you say that it happens on YouTube too, what do you mean?
Well, I mean that just okay. Hold on.
No problem. Let's bring in Bougie Kim. What's up, Bougie?
Hey.
Hi, how are you, Mama?
Tisa, I just love you. I really, really do. I wanted to say, first of all, that I congratulate you for having this conversation because I've been wanting people, I've been saying this for 3 years. I said it when it happened to Monique and they tried to shade her out. And I said, Candace, you're next. Sure enough, they're on Candace. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything with Wendy because she's too educated and she's too smart. And I think she's a good look for Bravo. So they're not going to let them shade her out. But I've been seeing this colorism problem for 3 years. And I want to commend you because you are, a more fair-skinned woman. And I commend you for, I want to say not having dark-skinned girls back or whatever, but I'm just saying, calling out the truth. Because a lot of people, like you said, they'll just go along with the bandwagon and, well, what are you talking about? But I love the fact that you can identify with what's really going on. So I really want to commend you for that. I'm a little older, so I'm you know, I have a daughter your age, and I want to say my own grandmother told me, because I was in Jack and Jill, and my grandmother, when I came home, and she was like, "Oh, you got in?" Barely, girl. She said barely. She said you barely, you know, that color, that paper bag. So I knew
Oh,
from, you know,
wow.
because all my grandmother said, you know, she's half white. And you know, everything you're saying is so true. That's why I'm in the chat like preach. But you know, I'm so happy you're having this conversation, because it's well overdue. And I think other content creators don't want to touch it because maybe they're, you know, of a different race or whatever, so they don't feel comfortable talking about it. But I'm really, really, you know, just happy that you are talking about it. Another thing is, you know, I was married to an NFL athlete, and I remember
Really?
coming to the practice for the first time. Well, no, let's back it up. When he was in college, about to make the NFL,
Okay.
all my friends from the hood were like, "He gonna divorce. I mean, he gonna break up with you and get with a white girl as soon as he make it." Like, all when he was in college, that's what they used to say. Or he gonna get with a half breed, or he gonna get with a light skinned girl, or blah 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 blah. And you can see my picture. I'm not even that dark, but that was like you said, that was what's ideal. Once you make it, go get someone light skinned, or go get someone mixed like Robin or Giselle, you know, and that's who you get when you really make it. That was that for the football players, that was almost like a status thing, you know. And I remember when I came, and there was a couple of other girls that was, you know, kind of dark skinned, and you know, we were almost like in our own little clique, because we were almost not looked at as part of the clique because we weren't the same. You see what I'm saying? So it was really, so that colorism, you know, was really, really there. But I thought that what Giselle and Robin said was so disgusting. I was so angry. That's why I'm so happy that that you're talking about this, because like you said, it's like people want to just skim over it. And this is not okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I was going to, forgive me, your name is Bougie. What's your whole name?
Well, my name is just Bad and Bougie, but you can just call me Bougie.
Bad and Bougie.
Bad and Bougie. No, I was asking because I think you be on Adam's channel, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so she's fabulous. So I know her. So I definitely see her commentating and stuff like that. She's wonderful. And yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I just wanted to say, you know, I don't think Bravo will do anything about Giselle and Robin. But you know, it does really kind of get to me that everything Candace says, and I feel like it's because she's darker. It's like, you're aggressive, you're this. Same thing with Wendy. You know, Candace is a wordsmith, so she's really good with her words. But to me, what Giselle and Robin are doing, which is making up vicious lies about people's babies not being their baby and people's husband cheating, is way more vicious than Candace's little reads. And I'm not to say Candace doesn't go too far sometimes, but Giselle and Robin are literally trying to break up families, say people's children are not their children. So you know, the fact that, oh, we got to fire her, oh, she's so this, but then they get to make these watermelon fried chicken comments, and everybody's like you said, it's like, oh, okay.
Definitely on that one, I will say that you know, there's a few things going on. I do want to say, it's so funny you brought up Jamal Bryant, and then Mel, I'll let you jump back in, and when LRGA gets back on camera, we'll let her add to the oh, there she is right there. Hey, RGA,
hi. I didn't know you were. I'm sorry.
No,
How are
it's okay.
you,
I'm doing good. Really quick, I did want to touch on something that had occurred to me, right? With Giselle being a colorist, and she's a hardcore color. Like, I listen, I'm breaking my own rule. But Giselle being a crayon, right? I think that, which is very, very tragic. You know, Giselle's pretty privilege and her colorism, and the way in a Crayola place, she was raised to believe that she was the prize. In a weird way, and it's very, very tragic. That's one of the reasons that she even got hustled by Jamal, because he fed into at first, like, because I do believe that Jamal might have narcissistic tendencies, right? He definitely love bombed her, but the way, and this is what I mean about the way, like, being a crayon, having too much privilege, looking down on people, always comes to bite you in the back. Because had she not looked at herself, this is my opinion, as the prize. And of course, this man, yeah, he's cute, but oh my God, like I'm just up front. You see this sunshine, you know, you see this high up, this bright sunshine shining on you. The way she had this ingrained thing of how she was a prize and better. And part of it, I believe, was the color of her skin, the color of her eyes, this and that. It let her be blind to the fact that Jamal didn't view her as like an equal or a human.
Right. Yep.
A woman. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is what one of the examples I mean about like when you are racist, when you are colorist, this is why they say if you won't stop this mess even for your own good, because eventually the poison you put out creates a cage for yourself that you cannot get in. Hey, Magnolia Summers, thank you so much for joining the TisaTells. Mika, welcome, mama. And Natalie, welcome back to the fold, Miss McLinden. Thank you. Okay, so listen, let's see what Mel's talking about, and then we will go to LRGA, and then we'll go back to you, Miss Bougie.
Okay, well, Tisa, thank you for having me. I got to get back to work. I'm actually working, so I want to drop down. Huh?
Okay, thank you so much, Bougie. I really appreciate it.
But I'm really enjoying the conversation. I'm definitely going to still be listening. And again, I commend you for having this conversation.
Thank you. Don't forget, put your headphones in and then put your hair like this so the boss can't tell that you're on your phone.
Right.
Girl, you know I already do that. I've been doing it.
Yes, you got your AirPods in like.
All right, bye, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Okay, so actually, RG, let's see, Mel, why don't you pick up where you left off, and then RGA Curves jump in, and then I'm going to put the call-in link right here for anybody else that has something they'd like to add.
Yeah, I'll be very brief because I definitely want to hear what RGA was going to say. I was going to say, for me, I just want to say that I feel like the way we should live in a society now, we should definitely not be people. I think that what we're saying is that the ladies on the show, Potomac, some of the ladies on the show definitely notice when cast members come in, they notice their different hues of color. And for them, we feel that it may be important to them. And I feel that's wrong. I think that was something that's sort of like a undertone that's been going on for years. And to see the girls sort of slip a little bit on their show when they feel safe, when it's not edited, it shows a lot of probably what was left on the scrap floor of the show. The girls have always said there's some kind of issues going on there. And also now, is this a total disaster? Now, will Bravo come up against them as hard as they went against Candace whenever she says something?
No.
Right.
No, that's the problem, because Bravo, I noticed, and first of all, you guys, really quick, hit the like button. There is 377 people in this chat, and I bet the way y'all do me, I probably only got 28 likes. Please hit that like button. I even listen, y'all was people, my new people to my channel was like, is Tisa even real? Is this some all tea mess? And I'm just like, no, I exist. Listen, I exist.
I was telling the people in the chat, say, I got to see Tisa do the makeup so they can see, right.
Yes,
right.
The makeup and best will be back soon. Y'all gonna start seeing my face. I've been trying to hide. But I also want to say, you guys, don't forget the members only live at 7:30 p.m. tonight. We talking, we dragging. I'm coming with the tea. It's gonna be such a fun time and a kiki. And because it's behind a paywall, I can give y'all the extra tea that's a little bit unsafe for YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to members only. Now, I just want to say this, Mel, before you finish your point. And you guys hit the like button, but and if you really want to commit, hit the subscribe and turn those notifications on. But I do want to say that I think that one of the reasons Bravo is not going to act, because you remember what they did with Jenny, right? They were literally like, oh, were those racist posts? They were hoping that the public would die down. But our people, that's the one thing why they always try to keep us so divided. I will say one thing about the Black community, right? When we come together and we stand as one being like, hell no, this ain't going on, they have no choice but to actually react and make a move. Jenny got out of there. But the thing is that's so sad about the colorism issue, we can't even unite within ourselves. We really got Black people being like, that wasn't colorism. Y'all reaching. Again, like I said, and I would say to everyone that's saying it's not colorism, why don't you give me your definition of what colorism is? But whenever you press somebody, they can never give a definition. They always talk about, well, that wasn't it. Okay, so then tell me what it was. Like if someone says, give me an example of racism, I can give you 20 examples of what racism is. So I do find it odd and sad that we are so split up over this topic that we cannot actually force anybody to respect somebody.
Yeah,
I do. And really quick before I let you finish, who is it? I have to. Dr. J, 1913. I know that's right. Thank you for rocking with the TisaTells for 6 months. I appreciate you so much, Mama. And I can't wait to see you in the live. We should probably have a year anniversary for my channel. We're going to do it April 14th of this year. It's going to be fun. Maybe I'll even have a giveaway. I'm just going to be sending y'all Snickers bars in the mail. I'm joking. Maybe we'll even do something really, really fun. We'll do fun. We'll pop some champagne. It'll be fun. We'll go. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'll even harass people on the street. Y'all never see me harassing people on the street like, hey, come here. Say hi to the TisaTells. It'll be fun. So anyway, go on, Mel. Sorry to interrupt. Go on, Mom.
No. You made some good points. I'm interested to hear what Cole has to say right now. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the name. I can't say the name. But
LRG. So listen, let's do LRGA curves, and then we'll bring in XO Sylvia. LRGA curves, Mama. I'm loving those glasses.
Thank you. And you know what I did? I liked this video on the way in. That's what I did.
I know that's right. Thank you. So, Mama, what do you think of this whole situation?
Well, I think I have been calling it for a long time, just like the other people in the chat who know what colorism looks like, who knows what it tastes like and smells like, who know that it's not about the mere complexion, it's also about hair, it's also about features, it's also about lips. It's like you said about all of this, you know what I'm saying? So when people say that they're experiencing it, they're experiencing it. And just like you can't really put a finger on racism, you shouldn't have to. If I said I experienced it, believe me, believe me. Why should I have to then further explain what it was? You know what I'm saying? No, you go educate yourself and then come back and talk to me about some stuff. Giselle and Robin, problems. They're problematic because they are allowed to continue to engage this way on such a massive platform that when it gets to people in other countries, they see these two women talking about their own people like this. And imagine a viewer that's never engaged with a melanated human before. They see melanated people engaged like that with us, right? And then they come and then they'll think it gives them permission to also engage with us like that because it seems like a normal thing. So I feel like it's damaging for us to do it to each other. It's also damaging what Jenny Wynn did to the community. But Bravo tends to reward, they positively reinforce and reward bad behavior, mediocrity, and, you know, just basically racism, period. Like, why is Ramona still there? Don't talk to me about it. You know what I'm saying?
You
was I all over the place?
But you know what I realized also, and I'm just going to say this. This is an unpopular opinion. First of all, let me thank Atlantic Creole. Atlantic Creole says there are Crayola crayon sector on YouTube that routinely attack Black women. That sector is ran by people who identify as biracial and mix the golden spear. I had no idea that because you ain't never going to find me in those corners. Like literally, and you know me. If y'all know me on Twitter, I'll pick up my keyboard and be like, you are a dumb BIT. Like I'll give my opinion. But I want to say this, right? Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way, Atlantic Creole. And all of y'all, there's 353 in this chat. Please hit the like button. Let me just say this. I am starting to believe that some of the reasons why people deny the fact that it is colorism, it is the fact that, hold on, let me just mute everybody who's not talking. I hear like a little background noise. It literally, Lorraine Samuels, thank you so much for joining the membership. I appreciate that. And Rim, thank you so much. But I'm beginning to think that one of the reasons people don't say that is because maybe they're actually doing the same thing. So, and thinking the same things. So when they see somebody doing it, they're like, no, that's not colorist. Why? Because you was thinking the same thing. Why? Because you've made jokes like that. Why is it so hard for you to accept that someone is telling you this is offensive? It does not matter if you find it offensive. It does not matter. There are certain experiences on this. It's like me talking to a man, telling them, and that don't mean nothing. I cannot tell a man that the pain they may feel from being told they don't measure up to what masculinity is. I have no place to tell them that it's no big deal, that so what, because it's your pain and your hurt. And because I am not a man, I can never experience it, right? The same way, but it's even more nuanced out than colorism, because sometimes like internalized racism makes us do that. But it just makes me, I'm starting to think that the people that are denying it even exists are denying it simply because maybe they're doing the same thing. Because at this point, it is weird. The way people, the big, because here's the thing, they used to poke Candace and Candace would feed into it, right? Because, you know, she was new. Candace is very passionate. Y'all know I have a soft spot for Candy Pants, right? So I think that I see why Candace does certain things, but forget about Candace, because this isn't about Candace. It was so evident when Dr. Osefo came and she was sitting there calmly laid back, drinking her mojito. That was a scene, talking about something, and your man cheating on you and you don't even got a man. And she was wrapping them up and bundling them, and she didn't even raise her voice. At a certain point, she looked like she was whispering. She was so calm. So Robin and Giselle were basically, in my mind, they were basically sitting there, you're so aggressive. Why are you so aggressive? Screaming at Wendy, being like, I'm aggressive? Wendy wrapped them up and balled them up. And then they started with this narrative about Wendy being aggressive. Wendy, and don't think I didn't forget Karen being like, Wendy just doesn't match around here, if you know what I'm saying. Don't think I didn't forget about that, and how everybody in Karen Huger's bloodline is this complexion or lighter, right? Don't think I didn't notice that. Because listen, I understand colorism at a deep level. Don't think I didn't notice that too. That ain't an accident. If that ain't an accident, that's not an accident. And anybody that's African American, and I mean like Black descendants of enslaved people, y'all know that has to be purposeful, because it's almost impossible that your whole bloodline on both sides look like that. It's almost impossible. I don't know what they got in the Surrey County water, but they don't have caramel coloring. So stop it, Karen. But my whole point is, when Wendy brought them up, and I was like, you guys, this is colorism at its finest. Crickets. Why does Bravo allow that? I also have a theory about Bravo. It's like when I look at the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I mean, I stopped watching them after that Mary stuff because they were just, to me, racist mean girls. I feel like sometimes there is a sector, and this is why Kelly died, and a lot of people from the OC were still on. There is a sector of people that were firmly red hats, right? They were MAGA all day, but they were that inner. And I know people are like, oh, so what? People can be Republican. Yes, they can. But there was a sector of MAGAs that intersected with, let's ship everybody out the country that's not white, right? I feel like that is a large part of Bravo demographics, and I'm beginning to think that their viewership enjoys people bullying and going after Black women, and in a cast of all Black women, darker skinned Black women, because they are allowed to say and do the things that they wish they could do in real life. But in real life, you will get videotaped and posted up on TikTok and lose your job and be humiliated, and your kids have to leave school. So I feel like, in a weird way, it's almost the way guys that hate women love watching Kevin Samuels, because Kevin Samuels brings these women up that they could not have access to, either through lack of funds, lack of confidence, lack of looks, or maybe even lack of the right mentality. They do not have access to the women that they have been socialized to believe they deserve. And they can't take that hostility out on just any woman, because we call the police like, sir, I am trying to order a Big Mac. Please be on your way. But Kevin brings them up, and then he humiliates. That's all it is. These girls, I don't even know. With the girls, I'm like, I'm going to pray for you. If I had your daddy's phone number, I would call him and be like, go get your daughter. The women are raised to be pick-me's, and they'll be like, what about me? Do you think I'm pretty? And Kevin be like, no, you look like Elmo's big toe. And what you got? You got kids, useless, low value. You might as well just be the pass around. Go walk outside naked and let any man sleep on you, because that's what you deserve. He'll humiliate these women, and the men will be like, yeah, because it's scratching an itch that they cannot scratch in the real life. The way Salt Lake City ganged up on Mary, the way the Real Housewives of New York ganged up on Ebony, the way there still hasn't even been any people of color on the OC until Noella. Noella is a black woman. I know she's very pale, but she's a black woman. But even look at the way they're trying to like paint her as crazy. The only thing is Noella be giving it to them, and they don't know what to do because in OC standards, Noella is just drop dead gorgeous, and they are over the hill. So they don't have the cultural power to stick it to Noella. Noella has the erotic currency right now. But my whole point in saying this is, I feel like that's why Bravo is so slow to react with anything dealing with racism, because there's a large swath of their audience that likes that itch that they're scratching. The fact that you look at Mary Crosby, don't get me wrong, you guys know I love eccentric characters, right? Mary Crosby was such a joy. She was kooky. She was zany. She was an honest person. She might have been suffering from a mental illness, but it was, I don't get two types of mental illness. There's mental illness, or there's mental illness, like running around with butterflies. Mary was that mental illness I loved. You were running around with butterflies. The world is a beautiful place. You're just like, you like Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter. So it's like, to me, she was harmless. And the way Mary took her to her church, which anybody that got a grandmother, been to a black church, right? From a young age, right? And we all have like memories of like when we can only see up to people's knees and people start hooping and hollering. You're just like grabbing your grandma's knee, like, what the hell is going on? Your first time at church, you're always like, what the hell is going on? But the fact that you took something that is a very common, I'm not going to say it's universal because we are a varied group, right? But something that is a very common black experience and try to turn in the middle of goddamn Mormon country, Mary's typical black church, into a cult. And then even Jen Shaw sitting there, because Jen Shaw, she's one of those women. Have y'all ever been in situations where you say, Jen Shaw is one of those people that even the way she started off bragging, everybody in Salt Lake thinks I'm black. I just let them think that, right? And Jen Shaw is one of those women where you want to look like Beyonce, dress like Beyonce, have the Beyonce braids, right? But when you're in the middle of black culture, she was sitting in that church like,
oh yeah,
is this a cult? What? The girls that weren't black were more like, well, I just don't understand Mary's church, right? When they were honest about it. Jen Shaw was sitting there looking, judging. People that take from the culture, and this is the epitome of cultural appropriation, but nobody called Jen Shaw out for that because she's married to a black man. Just like a racist can be married to, someone can hate any race and be married to a person of that race. That don't matter. But the point is the way that they allow that to go on to scratch and itch. Jen Shaw, in my opinion, is the epitome of a culture vulture. When I saw her sitting in that church, you're the epitome. And we can say a lot of things of what that means about her husband, what that means with that. And she's surrounded with men. So she can, because that's the thing. There's black culture, but then there's black woman culture and there's black male culture. Right. There is. And it seems to me that black men as a whole don't care about protecting black woman culture. Because in their mind, that part, maybe they don't care. Yeah, maybe they don't think it's special. I don't know, understand what it is, but in their mind, they just don't care. But Jen Shaw
I was gonna say this black man, I care. I do care. I care. But I'm listening. I was gonna say, you were right. Noelle was fierce. She was absolutely fierce, and she was unbelievable in OC. And you're right about Jen. I think that also people can, I was going to say it was just a group I don't really remember called El DeBarge, and their father was white, but he did not treat the mother who was black very well. And I almost feel like he fetishized her. He sort of made her into a fetish and was terrible to her. So you're right. You can be in a marriage with somebody who's a different race, but be attracted to them for your own whatever reasons, but still don't respect them or respect the culture. So maybe Jen also was turned on by her husband is fine. He's a beautiful man. I ain't speaking on her husband. She could be turned on by him and create a family. Maybe don't understand the and then she also had a conversation and wanted to say and said, well, why don't your family reach out to me? Why does your family, maybe what you're saying, she's not really being authentic. She's not really being friendly. She's not really being there. So when she had these issues that was legal, none of his family showed up and she was crying about that. So it makes more sense that maybe she did sort of just marry the man and not really respect the culture. And so she went to the church.
Exactly.
And she had these issues with legal. She said, well, I can use Mary to sort of make myself look good and make her look bad. Well, like you said, the church scene wasn't, it wasn't something crazy. I've seen many of those kind of moments in churches, whatever.
Typical Black church. Maybe because I grew up going to them. I'm like, meh. Like literally, I'm like, they wasn't even speaking in tongue. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Anywho, I've just been sitting there getting yelled at for eating like the Sunday service food early, bringing my plate into the thing and just sitting there getting yelled at. Like, why you cut that cake? Because I'm hungry. It's normal to me. So I would just been like,
yeah. I mean, she acted like it was a scene out of Beloved or something. Like, you know.
Like they had goats on the altar, just like sacrifice them to a pagan god. But again, to your point, the reason why Jen, again, and it's another thing, you need to realize that let's actually just call a spade a spade. Most of the time when people hate you and they've never met you, but they hate you in general, they haven't seen your actions, they just don't like the thought of you. Are you a Black woman? Are you a Black man? I don't like you, right? It's because there are certain things that you have that they hate for you. It is stemmed in jealousy. Now, listen, I know right now people use the word hater a lot. If somebody has knowledge of you and they still don't like you, that's not being a hater. That's just saying, I don't like you, right? But I feel like when it comes to people that culture appropriate, like you said, whatever, it's because you have this deep thing of the culture, but you don't like the people in it. Right. You know, you just don't like the people in it, but you like the hair, you like the dress. But also, I feel like with Jen Shah, she was also afraid of being called out because you ever like, I've seen it a lot. I'll be sitting there, you know, especially in like, if I'm overseas, right, in the EU, I'll be sitting there, you know, eating like, you know, my whatever, right, eating my foie gras on toast or something like, yes, you know, look at me, right? I'll be sitting there doing like whatever, and I'll be in an outdoor cafe because anybody that's ever been to EU, there's a bunch of outdoor cafes everywhere, right? It's like our McDonald's. I'll be sitting there, and a girl will walk by with cornrows, right? Blonde hair, blue eyes, cornrows. I don't know what it is about when they get hair braided. It always looks so jacked up. I guess our hair was made to be braided and it lays down smooth, but it always looks like Robin's, little wobbly, like wobbly roads. Like your hairdresser hates you. And I'll literally look at them. And anyone that's wearing cornrows in the EU, it's because you either have admiration for American culture, which is Black culture, or you've actually been to America. And I'll sit there and I'm eating and I'll stop and just look at them. And they'll get that look of shame and avoid my eyes because it's literally like, girl, you tried it. You know you dead wrong, but these people don't know any better. So you happy there, you know, talking about something. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. And you happy that you could wear these cornrows and appropriate the culture. But when somebody from the culture looks at you, it's that shame because you're like, I know what you're doing. And you look stupid. And I think that's another reason why Jen doesn't have Black people around her, because when she comes like with her Black scent and this and that, people are just looking at her like, Jen,
it would not fly.
It
definitely wouldn't fly.
But it's an embarrassment. It's not even like we'd be like, girl. No, it's just an embarrassment because it's almost like if y'all saw me over in the EU with like a Giselle Bryant blonde wig plopped on my head, and you know she don't even believe in blend and leave out or like she be getting Halloween City wigs and just flipping them over her head, like you know, like she be getting Cinderella Party City wigs, like the Rapunzel ones, and like turning around like. You know, so it's like if you saw me over on like off the coast of France with that Party City wig on my head, you know, staying out of the shade and being like, yeah, you know, I'm not Black. I'm actually like my mom is from blah, 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 my dad is from blah blah blah. No, I'm not Black. This is just I tan a lot. Y'all would look at me like, girl, and you saw me, and it's like even if you didn't call me out, it's that shame because I know I've been exposed. I know I'm living a lie, and now I'm exposed, and now I'm embarrassed. That's the way Jen Shah. That's the way Jen Shah feels. It's that embarrassment. It's just like, girl, you.
Well, I think that what you're talking about is like an intuitive hit between two people. You know, something happens, and you don't have to say a word. You go, I see you. That's all you have to do. It's like an energetic exchange, basically. You know,
right? Yes. You know, can I just mention? You guys talked about Giselle. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say this. Miss Conceited, thank you so much for becoming our newest member. And I also want to say, Rim, thank you so much for looking out. Rim, you guys, it's a members only live tonight. There is the link to join. Click on it. We are dragging. Listen, you know, sometimes I'm about the culture and I'm like, everybody put your prayer hats on. We be in prayer warriors. Get down. It's time to fight the power. And then, you know, the other side of Tisa, when I'm like, all right, let's get messy. Did you see what she had on? Right? So we're going to be roasted dragon and spilling tea at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys do not miss it. It is going to be the best time. And don't forget the Church of TisaTells and Tattlemels, because representation matters. TisaTells and Matt. Listen, even if you've left the flock, it's okay. Come home, come home, come home. It's $4.99. Summer is coming. You don't need those burgers and you don't need those milkshakes. I know I don't. I'm trying to stop. Right? Summer's coming. Summer's coming. Let's do the best we can, right?
I'm trying. I know.
Exactly. So listen, you guys, thank you so much. And also, there's 390 people in this chat. Please hit that like button. Show your girls some support. Turn on subscription. Oh, last thing. I know I'm doing my promo, but listen, this is free entertainment, all right? Just go with me. I'm going to be reviewing, of course, Candy Show. I'm going to be reviewing Love and Marriage Huntsville. And I think me and Grace are going to review something too a little later. I'm going to confirm with her, but I'll have that on the thing. But definitely Love and Marriage Huntsville, come through, Black production, and of course the Candy and the Gang, and of course RHOP. So make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on so you can be brought up to date with all that. All right. Now, go on. I'm sorry. So listen, LRGA Curves, go ahead and finish your point. Then we'll have XO Sylvia come up. And of course, Kai, let me add you to the chat. Hey, what's up, Kai? All right, so go.
I was just going to mention that there's this whole phenomenon also about believing that Black in you or on you makes you Black, and it doesn't. So perfect case is, you just mentioned Jen Shaw. She considers herself what? Black by proxy, because she has a Black husband. So that's a case of where Black in you doesn't make you Black. And then for Giselle, having Black on her doesn't make her Black either, because that was just her husband, but she still treats people according to their skin tone. And that's also like with the Beckys, when they come with their braids and they culturally appropriate us and stuff, they think, oh, I'm not racist because I have a Black boyfriend. Or how Shawnee O'Neal, when she got called on the carpet about her colorism with OG, said, how can I be colorist? I'm married to Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I mean? So that whole idea that when you're around a darker skinned person, that you couldn't possibly be a problem is a problem.
Very good point about Shawnee, about Basketball Wives. She's disgusting. I forgot about Shawnee.
No, definitely. And I want to say this when it comes to cultural appropriation, right? I believe that, and this is a controversial opinion, I believe that as long as you have love and respect and appreciation for a culture, that's the thing I will say about Black people. And when I say Black, I mean like African descendants of slaves, African-American descendants of slaves, enslaved people, not slaves, that's rather enslaved people. One thing, and I've been all around the world, I will say is so beautiful about our culture is we embrace everybody. We embrace everybody, and not because of the way they look, not because of this. It's like when somebody brings somebody into the family that is from another culture, whether they are Eskimo, whether they are Inuit, whether they are from Bulgaria, it don't matter. We're just like, oh, wow, girl, come here. So how do you do your hair? Wow. We want to hear the family. We want to meet the family. We want to learn about the recipes. We want to do that. We genuinely have an appreciation for other people's cultures. And what's more, we have respect for other people's cultures. And the thing people don't realize about cultural appropriation, or maybe they don't want to, we literally just respect it. Just respect it. Do you realize the reason we have problems with you wearing the braids isn't because of the braids, it's because of disrespect. That's the problem. And the braids are a symbolism of disrespect, because again, wear the braids, do that. Girl, I'll braid your hair myself. But when it's time to literally go march for brutality, where are you? Oh, did you take your braids out and now you got your hair like blown out? You see what I'm saying? It's like, if you are going to take from the culture and love the culture, beautiful. But then you got to be there for the culture. Just like when people get like, again, I will say that our culture is beautifully welcoming. It's beautifully accepting. And we genuinely do love learning about other cultures as a whole. That's what makes the Black culture so amazing, and why we're able to assimilate all these different cultural cues and make something beautiful in art, whether it's music, fashion, whatever, that appeals to everyone, because we're always thinking and looking to others. And I think it'd be nice if people could give us the same respect. But I do think it's time we start demanding that respect.
Right.
And I do think it's time also, instead of letting other people commodify our culture, I think it's time we start commodifying our culture. And this is just me. I know people are like, no, that's for the culture. Take it back. No, forget it. Y'all gonna want to do it anyway. So let's start commodifying. You like these sneakers? Black owned country. You like the hair? Black owned salon. You like this? What you want? What you want? What you want? You want a Beyonce cornrow #3? We got you. Let's go. I do think it's time that if we can't make people respect the culture, we respect it through the one thing that everybody in America respects, which is money, and commodify our culture ourselves and ration it out like that. You know,
that's beautiful.
They have commodified their culture of fashion the same way Italians have commodified their culture, like Koreans commodified their culture. We have our own culture as Black people in America, and we should commodify it. And then that's where I believe we can actually gatekeep the culture, because as long as you pay access, you have access to the culture. But we know in America, when somebody gives their money, that is them giving you their respect, because people don't give money to people they don't respect. So that's my thing on how to like take the culture back, you know, commodify it, take it back. That's how you do it. So but listen, EXO Sylvia, and then Kaya, what's I got to say? Jump in here, ladies.
Hi, Tisa. So I just want to say thank you so much for utilizing your platform to have this conversation about colorism in these shows. So I've been watching Potomac for quite some time now. One thing that stood out to me, which is very troubling, is that Giselle, Ashley, and Robin, they're definitely colorist. Giselle, in a way, for some reason, envies Wendy. I don't know if anyone ever noticed that. I don't know if Wendy is the type that her cheating husband used to go for. Reason being is that the last person that I think he cheated with had a PhD or something. And I think like Wendy kind of like embodies that type of person. And I also want to say Giselle should be very careful, because she has 3 chocolatey daughters who will see all of this. And she should be mindful of what she puts out there. As far as Robin, I was just listening to that podcast about that basketball player and the fried chicken and the watermelon. Robin is such a big dummy, because her husband, I forgot his name, John, whatever. He's a basketball coach. And y'all are over here on this podcast talking trash about a basketball player. Does she not know she could be closing her own husband?
Oh, I didn't even realize that. That's a good point.
Right. Right. So anyways, she should be very careful about that. And another point that I wanted to make is that Candace's situation, somebody mentioned that earlier too. Candace's situation reminds me of that basketball situation last season with OG. Like, in a way, Candace is doing her job, right? This is a reality TV show. You bring the drama, right? People have done worse and said worse than Candace. But the moment she opens up her mouth, she's viewed as being aggressive or this or that. And then Ashley, I just can't with this woman. Like, the fact that she thought it was okay to call Wendy aggressive. Like, Wendy was never aggressive. Like, Wendy would sit there and calmly read somebody. That's not being aggressive. That's just standing up for herself. So in a way, she definitely shares the same viewpoint as her husband. Her husband's clearly a racist, doesn't really vibe with Black people. I don't know why he's on this show. He's probably doing it just for the money. Who knows? But yeah, that's my 2 cents. But yeah, in regards to the Kevin Samuel that you mentioned earlier, or the red pill communities, one thing that stood out to me the most is that all these platforms are here and they're bashing Black women. In a way, they're commodifying Black female pain, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, you're making money off Black women's pain, and you're talking trash about us. And it's just like, it's so not cool, because it's like you hate Black women, but you also have daddy issues. So you hate the woman who decided not to put your butt up for adoption. But okay, so a lot of these individuals definitely need therapy. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Yeah, no, this is bad.
I have a couple things to say. Sorry about that. I have a couple things to say, but first of all, I want to call Mr. O'Cullen. First of all, actually, let me say thank you. Nyla, thank you so much. Nyla Harris Simmons, thank you. Welcome to the TisaTells. Girl, it's going to be good tonight. Jahan Pouncey, Pouncy, I know I said that wrong. Y'all know I'm dyslexic, but girl, thank you so much. And my soul's purpose, thank you. I think it's Jahan. Jihan. Thank you so much for joining. And my soul's purpose, thank you so much for joining the TisaTells. Now, I just want to call this comment. While you were talking, Sylvia, I wanted to call this in and just address it, because this is one thing that really like annoys me. Did I just lose it completely? It really annoys me when people say this, but I might have lost it. Hold on, really quick.
Say to Sylvia, I think she made wonderful points about Kevin Samuels. I actually think that what he says, I'm a member of the LGBT community, so I really don't understand him. I really don't relate to him. But just as a Black man, he's an embarrassment. I think you're absolutely right that we don't come into the world through immaculate conception. We come to a mother and a father. And I think that you're right. If you have an issue with women, there's also issues if there's a father not in the home. So I think everything you just said about that group is spot on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Kevin Samuels, I watched his Tasha K interview, and he literally grew up with a mother that had to clean houses, was emotionally absent because she was busy being a mother and the father. She was cleaning houses. He grew up feeling less than, poor, but his mom was emotionally absent because she was busy being a mother and father. And also she had a very stressful life, and her sisters would get around and drink and smoke cigarettes and try to unwind from the hate of the culture of growing up in a racist society where the only place that a Black woman could get a job was at a maid, but also the hate and lack of support that men that were like Kevin Samuels gave his mom and gave her his mom. So he grew up, and now he's spreading that same hate, and he has a deep resentment to his mom, and he blames her for all the pain that was caused. And when he looked at his mom talking to her sisters, chat and gossip and smoking a cigarette and having a drink, had he not have so much hate, he'd be like, my mom's just unwinding, whatever. But instead, he was looking at his mom and be like, that's why daddy left, because you talk too much, because you argue too much, because you didn't bring anything to the table. All the excuses his dad probably told him as to why he abandoned Kevin, right? Because if your mom is a low value woman, why don't you take the baby and go? But all the excuses that he gave him for why he abandoned the family, instead of blaming the coward that left, you're now looking at your mom saying you're low value. You should have had a college degree. You should have did this. You should have did that. That's why the men you dated didn't take you seriously, because you had a child. It's just, Kevin is a piece of work. But I will say this, right? There was a comment, I can't find it, that was put up saying, oh, here we go. Y'all hate your own hair and make fun of dark-skinned people daily. Mr. Okoye, I'm assuming you're not Black, because who's y'all, right? Other dark-skinned Black folks do this, but we have a problem. Oh, now you're we. When other races do it, Black people are gone. First of all, Mr. Okoye, I do not think you're Black, and stop blackfishing on my channel. And second of all, if you are Black, you need to go home so your mom can smack you in the face. What are you exactly talking about? I am sick of this racist narrative that has been fed to us. The way people say, if you want cops to stop hitting you, stop the violence in your own community. You mean to tell us that for other people outside the house to respect us, we need to clean up our own house completely? What type of sense is that? That's like saying because your parents beat you, that the kid down the street got the right to slap you in your face. And then when you say, don't hit me, you say, well, you allow your mom to hit you. Why is this narrative that we have to be perfect to get respect? Because no other race on earth has to abide by those rules. And why do we put those rules on ourselves? Mr. Okai, I do not believe you are Black for 1 minute. Stop blackfishing on my channel. Seriously, you guys, stop blackfishing on my channel. Sometimes people say stuff and I'm like, you can't possibly be Black. And yes, I am holding the keys to Blackness on this channel because it is. Stop saying that. We do not have to be perfect to be worth respect. We are worthy of the same respect we give others. We are worthy of the same respect that other people demand. We do not have to be perfect. And this is a sick form of racism, but also colorism, right? But also a sick thing of internalized hate, that we are so unworthy that until we prove ourselves worthy to other, then others will respect them. I know some people believe that like you gotta like make yourself worthy of respect to get respect. I don't believe that. I don't care whether I meet you and you are laying on the corner or you are in the Oval Office, as a human being, I'm going to give you the same respect. The same way I would not spit on the president, I'm not going to spit on somebody on the street. The same way I would not curse in front of my own mom, I'm not going to curse in front of somebody else's mom. You know, I mean, unless they're on my YouTube channel, then all bets are off. But I'm just saying, let's stop it. We don't need to be perfect to be worthy of respect. We are, and our culture is worthy of respect. You want to talk about Asian culture? We can't appropriate that. Does that mean that there's no Asian on Asian hate, Asian on Asian crime? Does that mean people don't, there's not like featureism? Does that mean they don't? No, it just means that that's their culture and we have to respect it. That's it. That's it. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying. Oh, one thing I want to touch on before we move to Kaya. Actually, Sylvia, you touched on something really important when you said that you think Giselle is jealous of Wendy. Maybe. Do you know what I think is going on with Giselle and Wendy? The same thing that goes on with Ashley and Candace. Giselle thinks Wendy is ugly. She thinks Wendy is ugly. She thinks Wendy is ugly. That's why she was so mad when Wendy got her body done. Because before, Giselle's like, she ugly and she badly built. Wendy got her body done. She got a little filler. I'm not hating on it. It looks good, mama. She literally, and Giselle's neck is drooping. This is Giselle's pretty privilege, but it's also their colorism, I believe, because you look at somebody like Wendy and just by her complexion alone, she's not at the pretty girl table. So she's sitting there and everybody's just like, oh my God, Wendy's so beautiful. She's so smart. She's so accomplished. And Giselle is like, her? You gotta be kidding. That's what it is. That's why Karen was like, oh, she doesn't fit in with us. There is some jealousy in there, of course, but I think and I do think there's a lot of jealousy too, right? Because you're looking at someone that you deem so unworthy and not on your level outpace you. And that's where the jealousy comes from, because Wendy is not worthy. She's not pretty. She's not this. She's not that. Yeah, she got that degree, but she better because look at the way she looks. You know the way colorist folks think, right? So now you're mad that Wendy has outpaced you, and she is beautiful. She is elegant. She is everything you want. But in your mind, you look at it as the dog being on the same level as you. The same way that Ashley cannot understand how Candace won pageants and people think she's pretty when she looks at Candace and she's like, with your dry edges and this and that. But that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. Y'all can think what y'all want. Kaya, why don't you jump in here, mama? What's going on?
Hi, everyone. I haven't been on a live in a minute with you all.
I haven't been on live in a while at all.
So my main topic points. The first one, I was just which we had this discussion before earlier when Potomac was on, and kind of like Ashley, and like remember when she like say like, oh, I understand my privilege as a biracial woman. And I also have to remember, Noella did the same thing on Orange County. She made it very clear in that argument with Heather that she was biracial. And that sent up a red flag for me. Because in my opinion, I watched this wonderful YouTuber. I believe her name is Kira, funny enough. She is a biracial dancer in Toronto, and she had wonderful discussions about her experiences. And I think she opened my eyes even more to kind of some of my thoughts and questions when I'm trying to talk about monoracial Black people, biracial people who are biracial to Black, and multiracial people. And I think it's an interesting thing of like, we do have the gatekeep, because even with her, she talked about how the Netflix show Ginny in Georgia was really tentative for her, and she even cried during it, because it wasn't a biracial woman playing a Black woman. It was a biracial girl playing a biracial girl. So she could actually see her lived experiences through the actor, and not necessarily see someone who is her playing a role that she's never lived herself. And that's why I feel like I have contingents when we do say like, oh, biracial people are Black people. Now, if you're culturally raised that way, then I can get that. But just flatly saying that is different, because she even opened my eyes to the fact that like she grew up her life seeing biracial people. And she also even made a point to saying like, you think there's a lot of biracial people in the world, but she's like, in my actual day real life, I don't come across that many. It's just the fact that the white media has put up mostly biracial women as being seen as Black women. So you think they're all over the place. But she's like, I barely have any biracial people in my family or around me. And it wasn't until the show that just came out. I think she's my age. I think she's like 24 or whatever. Until she actually saw someone on TV actually living her life, and other than Mixfish on ABC. So I think that's like a very titular point of kind of like also like just because my thing is like the lived experience of let's say a light-skinned monoracial Black woman and a light-skinned biracial woman are still very much so different, which is why you have a 24-year-old crying on YouTube saying how she didn't have her lived experiences until recently, because all the biracial actresses were always playing fully Black women and they did not live her life.
But see, here's the thing. I get your point, but I just have to say this. Like, maybe it's my family, and I mean even my extended family, but I think that we're going down the wrong thing with whether we're biracial or monoracial, because if that's the case, and we're talking about monoracial, every person on this in America who is a descendant of enslaved people is biracial. Everyone. There's not one person that monoracial.
But I don't live my life as someone who's biracial.
What's that?
I don't live my life as I don't live my life as biracial. Like I don't. And for me personally, it's like I have two great grandparents who are like biracial and not biracial with black in them at all. But
listen,
I most definitely look like.
Here's my whole thing. I'm not biracial. If somebody says they're biracial, like, listen, when it comes to Noella is proudly black. But well, hold on. She is.
Her Instagram looks nowhere. Because it's the same thing with Ashley. Ashley does all the wrong with her neck, and yet we still understand how she understands the privilege of her being biracial. And so I think when you try to like walk into that, you do erase kind of like what is truly your lived experience. Because even me, as a person who is monoracially black, I have a different lived experience because one of my parents is an immigrant, and my other parent is African American. And so sometimes some of the situations that fully African American people have, I don't have because I was raised by my immigrant parents. And I still understand those. I understand the fetishism of black men who, once they realize that one of my parents is not from America, they think I'm some weird black exotic. Even though I look like generally a normal, quote unquote average black woman, but because my blackness, part of my blackness, quote unquote, comes from somewhere else, a black man will fetishize me. So I can't, as someone who does not look biracial or anything like that, I can't understand the whole point of just like all biracial people are kind of like in that segment. Because even with me, it's like which you brought up an interesting point. So I'm gonna look into it more about white passing, but I just thought of white passing more of a interracial issue and not really a racist issue, because interracial I think of it as a part of like. The thing is, like, white people are always going to clock the other, but people of minority communities are always going to generally are always going to uphold or uplift anything that is more aligned or look more aligned to whiteness. And so that's what I thought was more of that terminology for an inward thing and not necessarily an outward thing.
Okay, I can definitely understand that. And you make like some really interesting points. First of all, I want to say Mercy Pie 82. You said, Tisa, my 6-year-old thinks you have a cartoon head. So happy to show your real face. Yes, for all those people that's been in my comments for the last 6 weeks being you ugly, that's why you hiding your face. Now what? Okay, I guess everybody's because I've been behind the filter for so long. People forgot that I actually exist. Thank you so much, Mercy Pie. We have 396 people in the chat. Please hit the like button for Mercy Pie's 6-year-old. And also, don't forget the members only live is at 7:30 tonight. And put it in your calendars. You guys, I'm getting back to lives. Shows are coming back on. After Potomac, I was not sticking in the live game for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I'm trying to hang in there for Jersey, but Atlanta.
I was going to say, I know. I was going to say, but we know that you're the Atlanta lady, so it's going to be popping and crazy on your channel when Atlanta comes back on.
Yes. Now, I do want to say that, and you guys, so don't forget to sign up for the members only. Now, let me just say this, right? Kai, you make some good points, and I understand where you're coming from. And this is just the way I was raised from Unity, right? This is the way I was raised. If you identify as Black, you are Black within reason. I'm not saying you can come from Sweden and be like, I'm Black, right? But if you are biracial, if you are mixed, if you like whatever, first of all, if you're mixed and you actually look Black, like Kim Kardashian's kids to me are Black. I know people are like, she's biracial. Let me tell you something. When your skin color looks from the back, you're Black. There ain't nothing you can do about it, right? Just like when I see Indian people and Arab people, yeah, I know, but the police are going to be like, yeah, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like if somebody wants to be a part of the community, they are part of the community. If they want to say, well, no, I'm a part of both communities. All right, as long as you show your allegiance, I don't got a problem with that. Now, if you come on some dumb shit, tell me some, okay, fine. Let's take your cookout. Now you're a problem. But I do feel like when it comes to issues of colorism, it can be broken down into whether you're biracial, mono, but I don't really think that it plays a factor. But I think the biggest giant to slay first is colorism. And then we can start talking about, because at the end of the day, I don't care who's monoracial or biracial or whatever, because I believe at the end of the day, we all in this together. Like, I feel like people that completely like, no, I'm not like, it's like, okay, you might be a little lost, or maybe you're not. I just don't think that people have this stereotype, I think, of mixed people, that they don't want to be Black. And I was like, every mixed friend I have is proudly, and they're the ones right out there like, no, because honestly, when you see it from both sides, you actually see the racism even more. And I don't know how to explain it, but a lot of times my mixed friends are even down for the struggle more, because you've seen it. You understand that snide comment. You understand because you've seen it happen. Just like people that have seen colorism, either experienced it or saw someone else do it to someone, you recognize it from the gate. Somebody can repeat it again, and you're like, the same way as Black people, we all know when you walk into a room and somebody's like, oh, so nice to meet you, and you can smell that racism wafting off. You can smell it like it's burning in the kitchen.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think I was saying in the sense, you know, because some people are hot with me in the chat. When I was saying, you know, monoracial, biracial, multiracial, I was mostly talking about the lived experience. Someone brought up an interesting point, kind of like the discussion of, you know, ambiguous and unambiguous, which is another thing. So I was mostly talking about the lived experience because I was watching a few biracial YouTubers talking about it, and I thought that was interesting because I could relate to it as someone who has two different cultures living through that, and kind of what that means. So that's why I brought that up. When the next thing is like in the point of colorism, I do think it's interesting of us having to talk about it, because now there are sociologists and psychologists who are writing papers about how racism is going to be with a tan. Like, people are talking about how more people are having, mixed children and all that stuff, and obviously our communities integrating more, which is wonderful, but that those ideals will still live in them. So now you have people who, can't be of your community, but have the privilege of, whatever it is. And I was discussing now kind of like who are now going to be the large mass weaponers of racism now.
Okay, but let me just say this. And then I want Mel, LRGA, and XOXO Silver to come on. That's an interesting point, but like, I feel like sometimes when people write thesis, they take things to an illogical conclusion, because, baby, we got people right now that's light or dark doing the same thing. You are always going to find some patsy to uphold. Let me just mute a few things. You are always going to find some patsy to uphold the oppressive, I can't even talk, an oppressive regime, always. And it don't matter whether they are biracial. It don't matter whether they look like Idris Elba. Trust me on this. The hierarchy and the oppressor will always find some patsies. Literally, they will always, before there were house slaves, they had people in and everybody want to talk about house slaves, right? But nobody want to talk about the slaves in the field that were also with that whip. You will always find. So for people to be like, oh my God, we're being bred out. Do you know at a certain time? Stop it. There's always going to be the oppressed and the people that oppress her. And whether they look like you, whether they're darker than you or lighter, there's going to be people lining up to keep people in line. That's all I know. So it's like, I don't worry about that whole thing about, oh, we're being bred out. We're not being bred out.
It's not about being bred out. That's not the thing. It's about who is now going to be the ones who are doing the thing.
I think
that's what it's about. Because there's still white supremacist people who are now, getting into interracial marriages and having children. And where do those ideals go? Same thing with colorism.
Okay,
like,
so
Giselle is losing that.
No, definitely. LRGA Curves, Mel New York City, XOXO Sylvia. Why don't you weigh into discussion? What do you guys think?
I think that that's a very interesting point that she was saying. I hadn't really thought about it like that detailed. I was just really more on the colorism thing with you,
Yes.
I do agree with you about earlier when you said about commodifying Black culture. I think that would work because it's too accessible. It's far too accessible for us to also be oppressed.
Yes. And as press people, and don't get me wrong, Kaya, we definitely get your point, and you make interesting points, and really deep points, and that's like for an even bigger conversation because it's so nuanced. But definitely, we see where you stand, and it's like really, really good.
I just want to clear one thing because someone says they think I don't understand the difference between race and ethnicity and culture, and I do because, again, as I said, I'm a fully Black person just with two parents from two different places. So that's why I feel like I separate those two things, and that's why I said sometimes my experiences are different than someone who has two fully African American parents because my mom, who's Jamaican, had taught me differently, and my grandmother, who sharecropped in Mississippi, taught me differently. That's what I meant by
definitely. That. No, I see what you're saying. I do want to say that really quickly. Hold on, guys. I do want to say really quickly that when it comes to back to turning it into commodifying the culture, I feel like our culture is so beautiful and so nuanced, and it's so out of like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Right.
Couple that with the fact of it would be easy to, for the way that a lot of people say we should gatekeep our culture, I feel like we have to be the ruling predominant culture to do that. It's hard for minority cultures to gatekeep because we don't control the media. We don't control this. We don't control that. But I do think, right? Hold on. Let me, my speed's slowing down. Let me take a few people out of the chat. 1 second. Hold on. I'm just going to take a few people out the chat. My thing's going up. But sorry. I for some reason, whenever I have more than 3 people in the chat, it starts like on my end, like what it up. I'll bring people up, and Kai, I'll bring you back in a second. But I do think that in order to gatekeep and control, you need to actually control the mediums in which culture is disseminated. And that's the way you gatekeep. However, there's a second way you gatekeep by making things inaccessible unless you show that you have respect. Again, maybe because I'm an American and I was raised in a capitalist society, someone telling me they respect me all day, whatever. Right. You could be telling the truth, you could not. But when you invest in me, oh, I know for a fact you respect me.
And pay what you're worth.
Exactly.
Well, I think yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's one of the conversations, again, because you're into social media and you noticed probably that was a big conversation that was happening on TikTok where some of the Black content creators were doing some beautiful dances, and it was other people stealing those dances and getting, I mean, major bucks and major exposure, and they never gave credit to the African American creators of these performances. So I think that is right, that we do have a lot of wonderful things in our community, and it would be good for us to really figure out a way to, I don't know, I guess to benefit more from our brilliance. You know, we have
benefit. Yeah. And sure, instead of, I kind of feel like it's kind of like an oppressive game that it's just like, no, if you're like the way you tell them you're for the culture, you're down for the cause, you can't profit from it. And I'm like, are you insane? Like, no. Now, somebody makes a good point where they say our white counterparts have probably never had this conversation. I would just like to say you were most likely right. But another thing that we take for granted, every culture has its own internal issues and structures and their own internal poison that they struggle with. So while they aren't having conversations about colorism, right? But I know our Indian counterparts are. I know our Latino ones. I know even our Asian counterparts are.
Oh, yes.
Don't just think, and this is, to me, I think it's part of media brainwashing. We grow up and we see like Caucasian families and they're perfect, right? And of course, I have white friends. I know, like, this isn't me saying all white people. No. There's white TisaTells, right? What's up, y'all? My whole point of this is saying that, but let's not take out just because we can't recognize their problems. Don't take it as they don't have their own internal. They have their own conversations, but we're not to. Just like most white people don't know about colorism until you tell them. They're just like, what? Huh? You're kidding me. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We're having this conversation, but just because we need to have conversations in our culture doesn't mean that there's something wrong for culture. Every culture is having conversations.
And
every single.
I was going to say this too, Tisa. And before we had science, we had myth. And from many different societies, featureism was from the beginning of time. Like I even noticed, I watched different documentaries about matchmaking in the Asian culture centuries ago, where they would look at the shape of your face to see if you were a person who would have a beautiful life or would not have a very, so featureism of the features of the face, the oval, the size, it's very big in different communities.
They tell you whether you're going to be a criminal, whether you're going to make sports. They will map your face out as soon as you hit puberty. They'll be like, come here.
That's right. Yeah, so
That
you're right.
is
So
funny.
you know what we call reading in the different cultures. They read your face literally, and they read the clarity of your skin, and also the shape of your face. Not about beauty; it's more about superstition of what you will bring to a marriage or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, like I was saying before, we had science, we had myth, and societies thrived on myth and superstitions and things, and it's still in our culture. You know, it's still there, and I think even in our own culture this idea that something, as we're talking about with these ladies, that if you happen to be a more brown, beautiful sister, you're more valuable than somebody who's
Yeah.
chocolate and wonderful too. And I think that the girls on the show, unfortunately, sometimes show they slip and say, well, I feel more valuable than my sister who's actually a little more darker, which is ridiculous. So I think that we need to have conversations like this so people will know that we all beautiful, we all lovely, we all fierce.
Right.
It doesn't matter what size or shape or color you come into.
Yes.
So
And you, ooh, that was a word, but we are all definitely, but to add, just to tack on, just like a little, we are all, but again, getting back to the colorism thing, it's just making me so mad that internally, this is something that we have to all come together and believe it exists. It's almost like the way when people are like, what do we need legislation on people that hit their wives? And then it's like, okay, but the national figures say 1 out of 8 women have been victims of domestic violence, and 1 out of 20 men have been victims of domestic violence. So, and out of the 1 out of 20 men that have been victims of domestic violence, 80% of those people were hit by another man. Right? So if you're saying men need to work on domestic violence, somebody be like, I don't even know. Why are we talking about this? Okay, but then maybe it's because 1, you're exhibiting that behavior yourself, or 2, you don't want to believe that your family, it's your friends, it's your coworkers, people that you feel uncomfortable checking. You need to start checking and challenging. So it's easier to act like it's happening in someone else's thing. If 1 out of 8 women experience domestic violence and 1 out of 20 men exist, and you're at your family reunion that got 200 people, how many of those people you think are experiencing domestic violence, and how many people you think are actually the ones like giving those smacks out? But nobody wants to admit that in this room, probably 5 or 10 of you guys are abusers when it goes. Nobody wants to talk about that. To your point, we all are equal. We are all fierce. But until colorism is addressed, and I feel like sometimes colorism slips underneath, and this is why it says slipping underneath in Potomac, because just like racism, right? It's internalized racism, basically. The people that benefit from it don't want to give up their privilege, right? And people that are kind of in the middle that don't want to accept that it happened to them act like it didn't happen. Like the people, self-hating Black people, right? There's no, that's not like the Candace Owens. That's not racist. Girl, you experience racism. When I hear your whole story, it just sounds like The Color Purple. Literally, you
come on, girl. Come on.
It's sad. It literally broke your mind. The racism experience broke her. Yeah. You and
me. Come on.
I remember my mom, when I was little, she was watching The Color Purple. And I was like, what's this? And it seemed like, because to me as a kid, you don't get they're in like the cotton field in these pretty cotton dresses, running around and playing. And as a little kid, I'm like, wow, they're so pretty. And it's just the cotton, everything, because you don't realize they're in a cotton field.
Right.
They wear cotton dresses because they had to wrap some drapes around their skirts. You ain't realize that, like, they're wearing bonnets because they're ashamed of their hair. You're just like, oh, wow, that's so pretty. Right. And I remember I got to those scenes and I was like literally traumatized, crying for days. Like every time, even when I think about it, I tear up. But that was Candace Owens' childhood. And instead of like hating the people that oppressed her, she's now saying there's no such thing as racism. And where people, I think, and colorism, I think it is an offshoot of racism where we have everybody ingest poison. Right. Sometimes the poison kills somebody's soul. Sometimes you find a way to make yourself throw up and the poison doesn't get you. Sometimes it comes, but you make your own self sick. Everybody has that poison a little bit. So I look at colorism. People have to acknowledge that it's happening, but you have to acknowledge, 1, you have the privilege, or 2, you have to take a stand. And I do notice since I've been on social media, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was always on people's pages and lurking in the backgrounds. But I mean, since I started my channel, I started like reading comments and kind of seeing the way like people think as a whole. I have noticed that there is something where people are afraid to actually stand up for something unless it is in vogue. Unless once the masses say, yeah, there's such a thing as colorism, then they'll be like, yeah, no more colorism. Sometimes people are they just want to get along. They just want to be accepted. They just want to be safe. And they don't want to step out on the battlefield. And I think colorism is going to take all of us stepping out on the battlefield, not just publicly like on this, but with people we love, with people we might respect. With nobody I love and respect. My family's not colorist. Don't put I'm just saying, I know the way social media is. But sometimes a friend that you might have to sit them down and be like, yo, that's wrong. And then if they still refuse to cut ties with that friend, again, the same way we're like, have conversations with your racist family members. Yeah, but maybe some of us need to have conversations with the colorism that we see. And it is going to be something that maybe you will get burned to literally sit there and talk to someone that might be the head of the NAACP and be like, you're colorist, right? To be talk to somebody that might be a first lady of the church and be like, you are colorist. It probably will blow back on you. People will. I get hate comments all the time, but sometimes we do have to take a stand and be like, well, okay, all right.
Right.
Yeah. And I was going to say, too, I think that the colorism in our community, Pacific and African-American community, wasn't something that we made up ourselves. I believe that if we have like this sort of vision of two people who are either brown and maybe somebody who's a little lighter who was welcome to the porch, and one person was let inside the house who happened to be lighter, and the one who was brown that was left on the porch. That image, that story was handed down generations. So people were saying, if we want to be better in our struggle, in our communities where we've been redlined, we in these bad communities or whatever's happening, we fighting very hard to get out. Well, you know what? I'm going to hitch my wagon to somebody who was let into the house years ago. I'm gonna hitch my wagon to them. So then now you start feeling smug because you feel like you're on the winning team. Now you do know it feels wrong. You know it is wrong, Giselle or whoever. But we are brothers and sisters. So like you said, the person in power has to say, you know what? I am benefiting from this. I can't see my sister having. We do the same work and we're not getting the same benefits. We're not getting the same respect level. We're not getting the same followers. Giselle's Instagram, not to be petty, her Instagram blows up. And you know, you can see the likes and everything. And in contrast, Candace doesn't get as much. And I don't think it's because she's hated. I think it's because something else is going on.
I agree with you. And you're right about that. Even as far as like, and sometimes when you take a stand, people unfollow you. People, I'm sure when I'm done with this video, there's going to be a million hate comments talking about you don't understand. I hate you. You're pandering. Yes. But sometimes when you take a stand, that's exactly what happens. Sometimes when you're like, well, it's not fair that my sister, and they're like, all right, both of you get on. Okay, fine. Now, but if enough of us take a stand, you can't, you know that old saying, they can't arrest us all, right? You can't put us all down. We need to stand together. Now, Tracy Walker, Talk TV. Hey, mama, you said Jews aren't white, so they didn't experience racism. They're different ethnicities only. That's like colorism. But you know what? You guys should all read this book, The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. I believe she won a Pulitzer Prize for this book. It literally tells about the greatest migration in America, and that was a migration from enslaved people up to the North. If you read this book, and it reads like fiction, it's so good. It's just so good, right? I always confuse nonfiction and fiction. Which one's true? Is it nonfiction or fiction?
Nonfiction.
It's true, right?
Yes, true story.
Okay, yeah, okay. It reads like fiction. I always confuse those for some reason. That and the greater than less than alligators. I'm always like, what? I never bothered. So fiction, it reads like fiction. It reads like the best TV. So it's a history book and everything in there is 100% true. But the research she did, the way she found it lets you know why Black people are in every city. It lets you know, and you now look, because when you know your history, you can know why things are. I recommend this book for people that want a crash course into why even the poison that's in our community right now. You see it all. You see, instead of just looking at the fruits of a poison tree, it takes you down to the roots, and you know why everything's happening. Once you know where the roots are planted, you can change how the tree blossoms. But in The Warmth of Other Suns, right? This is another misnomer. Okay, I'm not old enough to remember, but my grandparents are old enough to remember. There's a deal. The Warmth of Other Suns goes over this. There's a deal that every racial group makes in order to make the jump to whiteness. There was a time Irish people and Black people were on the same totem pole. There was a time Italian people and Black people and Jewish people and Black people to make, and it's not unspoken, but to make this jump, you have to, one, currently have their skin and be willing as a culture to oppress and be racist even more than the oppressors. The Polish did it in Chicago, right? In the slums in New York, the Irish did it, the Italians did it, all those people did it. And once they did, now we look at Italian and Irish and we're like, well, you're white. But back then they weren't. Back then it was like, right?
The sign used to say no virus.
Yeah, so when you look at Jewish people, right? Not Israel, right? Because that's a foreign state. But when you look at Jewish Americans and you look at in the 50s and 60s, a lot of times when you heard about those white people standing with the freedom riders and also getting lynched and doing this and doing that, they were Jewish people. Jewish people were not considered white at all. By their name, by their facial features, by whatever. And again, if you think the white people can't tell who's white and who's not, you're crazy. They can tell. They know what's going on. Jewish people were not considered white. They have, of course, but they weren't. And even now, in the way that Jewish people complain about anti-Semitism, because there is a large swath of Christians, right? And Christians are like the majority that do not consider them white. They consider them Jewish. So even though we look and we're like, well, you have fair skin and you get this and you get that, that's why they built their own banks. That's why they have their own things. That's why. And listen, I'm not saying that there can't be racist Jewish people. That's not. I am saying that when it came time to actually stand up and demand our equality and our equal treatment, they stood right by us. They stood right by us and they died. And that's why even now in politics, things get a little bit perverse, right? Because everything's changed, but they stood beside us and they were our biggest and only advocates. Those white people you hear about standing next to us during that dark time, I'm not talking about like 1989, but during that very dark time, they were Jewish people and they were fighting for their rights and our rights. So now we look at Jewish people as white because white people said, okay, they're becoming, and when I say white people, I'm talking about the power, right? They said, okay, they're being too, they're aligning. They're aligning. So you know what? Let's offer them membership into the white group, right? And now let's put them up. Just how now the biggest thing of racism I feel that they're trying to do is they're just like, damn, how are we going to allow Asian and Indian people and give them a segue into whiteness when they can be the same complexion as a Black person? This is another reason why Latinos haven't made that jump into whiteness, because they're like, okay, maybe the Cubans, and not even all Cubans, just the Cubans that made it to Miami, right? Because if you go to Cuba, everybody looks like me, you know what I'm saying? Like you go to Cuba, you're like, I am home, right?
Yeah.
But my whole point is,
I was going to say, she said they look like the cast of Miami Housewives, you mean, right?
Yes, past Miami Housewives, fine. But they're like, how do we make Latinos, because they are the biggest population right now in America, how do we now put them under the cloak of whiteness so we can still keep Black? Don't forget slavery. They still got beef with us for not being enslaved. So how do we do that? But we can't, because you can still be Latino or Venezuelan and have piercing blue eyes and black hair. Or you can literally be my complexion and have dark hair, or you can be darker. You see what I'm saying? So they can't, there's no way, because it's too varied. It's too much culture in there. That's another reason why, if you look at politically, why the Democrats, a lot of people are saying, are trying to, and not the Democrats, the Cubans in Miami are trying to cut off that whole dry foot policy, because it's like the white people, the white Cubans that have money escape. Fidel literally were like, no, comrades, we are like the future. They locked Cuba down. They isolated it. So now when a lot of people see Cubans, most people think Cubans are blonde hair, blue eyes because they've been to Miami. And it's like that is literally like 0.3% of Cuban population. But as long as they can keep those other Cubans on Cuba, they can make that jump into and that ascent into. I mean, look at Marco Rubio. Look at every Cuban politician. And this isn't anything against the Cuban people, but Afro-Latinos, speak up. Afro-Latino TisaTells. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So I know this is very drawn out, but it's like, I feel like that's the way they divide. Every time we start coalescing, they can't figure out how to get Indian people, Arab people, Asian Americans that same white curtain, because too many of them actually look like us, right? So now they're trying to divide through other things, through race, through culture, through socioeconomics. The way if you are foreign and you want to get a loan through Bank of America, they were sued for this and they had to pay a lot of money and get a Bank of America a loan, or was it Wells Fargo loan, on Crenshaw Boulevard to open up a business. When they're like, hey, before you leave this bank, would you mind filling out the survey? What ethnicity are you? My mama always told me, don't write that shit. And if you do, check white. And I used to always be like, I used to always be like, Mom, this is so like whatever. My parents were like, well, my mom's side, very involved in the Black Panthers. I would always be like, that's like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not, why would I do that? And then come to find out when they got that lawsuit, mama was right. Now, here's the thing, low key, I always did that because, you always trust what your mom believe you. Like, she's probably tripping, but let me just check off white anyway, just in case, right? What are you? And then to come to find out that when it came time for home loans, if you were anything but Black, you could get a loan, not even a home loan, a business loan. Oh, to start a shop in Crenshaw Boulevard. But if you were Black, they would not give you any type of business loans to start stores in your community. Why? Because that's the way they're segregating. We know how to make them fight. We'll make sure all the Asians and maybe Latinos or Arabs can afford like to open up a bodega. And then there's like that hostility, like, oh, they're coming into our neighborhood. When literally it's the way that they can't figure out how to assimilate them. So now they're going to just keep dividing us. So we'll see what happens with that though.
Exactly. You know, I think that all has a lot to go back to. Oh, go with your things.
Oh, you guys, there's 350 things, 356 people in this chat. Please hit the like button. And don't forget, yes, we're talking about the culture right now, but we're going to be dragging in a couple of hours, right? We're going to be dragging in a couple of hours at 7:30 p.m. We are going live and it's going to be so good. So make sure you sign up for the members only chat. The link is in the chat. It's also in the bio and I'll put the link up on the screen. And then, Donna, thank you so much. You say, Tisa, you're to be applauded for having an intelligent public discussion. And thank you, Mel, our LRGA, XOXO Sylvia, and Kaya, of course, on our very important issues in the world. God bless you. Keep up the fantastic work. I'm riding with you. I'm riding with you too, Mama. I love having these discussions, and I wish we could have more of them on YouTube. I know I do gossip all the time, but there's a difference between dragging somebody because they kiss it up on their granddaddy or literally talking about what's going on in the world. I think that we can walk and chew gum and do it all the time, because anyone that says that they only do one thing primarily, whether it's entertainment or getting a little deep, and I don't want to say they're being disingenuous, but, I run my channel like the way y'all run your lives. We can talk about what's going on in the world. We can talk about war, and then we can also bust it up and talk about how the girl down the street doesn't have 5 men in her house in the last 3 days,
That's awesome, honey. She partying. Okay. Wow. She had a nice in that weekend. Okay.
Okay, so go on, LRGA. Sorry about that.
Well, I just wanted to, because we are having such a robust conversation, and I want to thank you dearly for it, because 2022 is a time of healing. We've been through a lot. And I'm feeling like on a personal and world level, like it's a time for healing. Even with what's going on in Ukraine, some healing is happening even through the turmoil. So let me start this next part by saying that there are bajillions of particularly Black men that want to and do protect Black women. However, we get to see it rarely. And I think that some of that comes back all the way to, you were saying, the roots.
Yeah.
And the roots, even though it's beyond this, for us ADOS, African descendants of enslaved people, it has to do specifically with the slavery that we endured here. And I feel like it left an imprint on the DNA that is the Black psyche, specifically male, because it cost them so dearly for so long. And so like the cost of protecting a Black woman when they did, because I know they came fighting. That's like what I'm believing. You know what I'm saying? And so even in those, like, I'm just saying that the DNA was reconditioned to be submissive to an oppressive by not protecting their natural counterpart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I would say this, like, in my life, I've been lucky that the men related to me and not related to me have been protective. They've been men. They've been what you expect from men, right? They've been what you expect from men. But I will say this, for all those self, and again, I have a theory that when they broke our families up, a lot of aggression they have is at their mothers and a way of thinking that this is, I'm not going to get into that, but I feel like they have a lot of rage at their mothers, the parent that stayed. And because they didn't grow up around a guy to let them know, and the fact that they think, they look at Black women's faces and they think we look masculine because we look like they're themselves. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that sometimes I said, have Black men considered that maybe they have feminine faces because you look like us? So if you look like us and you're saying we look like men, or do you just have feminine features? But even then, you feel disgusted anyone where you see your own mother's face at. So, and that's racism conditioned. But I will say that I feel like, you know, I say there's hierarchies and everything. And I think that those self-hate, not all Black men, but I think the self-hating men, Black men, are conditioned to want to be equal to white men. They are men, they are masculine, they want to be equal to white men. And they've convinced themselves that the way to do that is also by having a white woman by their side. Like, I'm equal. I have a white woman, I have a white car, I got a white house, I got a white cat. So they got that. But I do think that, you know, and that's the sad thing, that somebody needs to have a conversation with them and be like, but do you realize that no race respects men that don't protect their women? And as much as you are trying to get the respect of all these different races by doing this and that, do you realize the one thing you could do to really solidify yourself in your in the eyes, actually have pride and protect your own women? The fact that they can publish an article saying that some Japanese scientists conducted surveys, probably like on his Fisher-Price laptop, talking about Black women are the most unattractive women in the world, and Black men were like, do you realize the way you lose respect from other men? It's like somebody letting somebody disrespect their mom. I don't care how strong you are. I'm looking at you like you're a whole ass nut, right? I don't think that, I think somebody needs to actually tell them, like, what you're trying to seek and do can be accomplished faster if you literally just not even respected, but valued and treasured the women and protected them. Nobody listen, at least I don't care. I don't care if you have I don't care if you date outside your race. I'm saying that when it comes to repping your set, you protect it. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't gotta look like your mama. You don't gotta look like mine. That's cool. Protect your women. That's it. And I think a lot of Black men that are self-hating don't get that. It's not the fact you date. Nobody gives a damn that you dating a woman outside the race. Nobody even wanted your dusty self. Nobody cares.
Right.
It's the fact that when it comes to protecting your culture, when you say, I don't care if you're dating me, I don't care if you think I'm beautiful, when you see a woman that looks like your mom being mistreated, and exactly, and that's where the anger I feel comes from Black women. But I also think that's where the disrespect, because how do you expect somebody to respect you when I feel like other cultures look at those self-hating and be like, you are so weak, you don't even protect your own women. You don't, and they don't look at it. And that's a funny thing. Outside of, like, again, I don't want to say all Black men, because I grew up in a big family of a lot of Black men that love Black women, right? So it's not, it's love. It's not like they're just like, oh, it's just the fact that everybody ended up marrying Black women. There might have been some people didn't, but the majority did. It was what it was. You actually fell in love with who you fell in love with. But my whole point is, it's like the fact that the ones that are just like, ew, yeah, ew, yucky, cooties, you know, on TikTok, I'd rather die than date a Black woman, you know, always without a shape up, but whatever. Always without a shape up, just look at a hot mess, but whatever. Those are the ones where it's like you are emasculating yourself every single day and you don't even realize it. And they're laughing at you and you can't figure out why. So you keep attacking us. We're not your enemy. If anything, we could be the gateway to your salvation. But
well, you know,
you don't want to act right, you know.
Well, I would just say, for me as a Black man, I'm a Black gay man. I love my mom and I miss her every day. And for me, I was very protective of her. And for me, and I think Tisa knows too, because we talk we do talk, and whenever I feel like somebody's maybe crossing the boundary, I'm right there like a little pit bull, trying to have her back. So I love my Black women. I love them very much so, and it never was even a dilemma for me to not want to protect and pick them up. And I even say to her, Tisa Diva Goddess, me and her talking. So that's just my thing. But you're right. There's some guys out there who, may have those insecurities or feel like there's a quicker way to get to security or to whatever they feel in their confused mind to get somewhere. And that means disrespecting your sister, your cousin, your mom, like just sort of, exiting from the family and feeling like this is what I need to do. I also believe I'm a person, again, who dated everybody. I've been here and I'm a bachelor, so I've dated everything. But the Asian, Middle Eastern, Mexican, everything think of. And Black.
And they look good. You were like,
that's what I was doing, honey. You know what?
Where are you from? Malaysia.
That's right. You got an accent. Take me to dinner. Come on. I love an accent. Come on.
Yes, you were like,
And that's right. I don't discriminate. No, I don't. But you know what? I would tell you what? Nobody gets preferential treatment. How about that?
Exactly.
Nobody gets the best treatment. It's all about what I feel in my heart. Yes. Everybody as a human being gets respect. And my mother, when she, and I miss her every day, she was the queen. So she was the top. And my family were that way. And then, this is what was going on. So, I don't know. I don't know about these brothers out there having these sort of identity crisis or whatever. I think you love who you love, but just don't put people on a pedestal like one is worse than the other. Honey, everybody's fierce, everybody's beautiful. And go out there, but I think I've heard these conversations too, where somebody say, "Oh yeah, I got this white woman because the Black women don't know how to treat me well," or whatever this may have been.
Buddy, girlfriend who's white. Where did this myth come from? My one white girlfriend like, "Where did this myth come from? The white woman was submissive. What y'all talk about?" It's kind of like the way
so weird.
It's weird. It's weird.
And please, let's not even talk about, and it's controversial. Let's not even talk about this. Has been a conversation for a long time about O.J. Simpson. So there was a lot of people who talked about this idea. I know what. Let's close the chapter. I'm not going to go there. It's people that wrote thesis about this idea. So
I'm not Black. I'm OJ. Where he literally.
Listen, I'm not taking that on the 10th of Paul.
Yeah, that was OJ's thing. He wanted to transcend his Blackness, and guess what? His money did. That's the one thing about America you can't find overseas. You can transcend your lot in life if you accumulate enough money. If you get famous enough, if you get rich enough, you can transcend your lot in life. And that's why when people get money, they transcend it all the way. Really quick, you guys, I do want to say this. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I got to get ready for the Members Only Live. Mel, as always, it was a blast. We got to get together again for something else. LRGA Curves, XOXF Cilia, Kaya, thank you so much, everybody, for rocking with the chat. I know I've been gone for a minute. I know y'all are like, Tisa disfigured. We haven't seen her face in 2 months, but I was just chilling, making videos on the Abby with no makeup, living my life. But now I guess I'm going to have to start combing my hair and putting makeup on again because, because we are back with Candy and the gang. Everybody's telling me that's going to be like, listen, it's going to be what, well, I don't even want to compare it to Portrait Family Matters because it's, I'm just saying it's going to be like, it's going to give us that lot of different storylines, a lot of drama, but that type of drama that we like but at the end of the day, we all friends and family, so we're going to work it out. That type of drama. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not the type of drama we trying to ruin people's lives and we throwing bows and like fighting people. No, it's going to be just real life drama like it is with the family. We argue, but at the end of the day, we're going to find a way to come together. And then also Rojas coming on, and I did get into Love and Marriage, Huntsville. I have been.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yes, I have been watching that on literally binging it.
Tisa, with Martell, and I'm being a little messy because I think he's fine as hell. What is the tea about him? Like, people have rumors about him. I need to
listen. Mel, we're gonna have to talk offline because Martell. I said when I literally did some research on Martell, I was like, yes, I found a new enemy. Cool, yo, Martell. Martell is he is a mess. And don't get me wrong, granted, because most hot messes, it's not true because there's some ugly hot messes too. Yeah, but Martell, he knows how to melt people's hearts too. He's not stupid. He knows to stay in him because you can't be a dog and out of shape.
His
Yes.
baby shirts help everything.
The baby Martell and his painted on shirts. But listen, you guys, we're gonna be doing actually maybe Saturday. I'm actually going to do a live, or Sunday in the afternoon. I'm gonna do a live for Love and Marriage Huntsville. We're gonna do a pregame so we can be ready when it comes, catch up on all the gossip, do whatever. And don't forget, I don't know if I'm gonna do it Sunday or Monday, but make sure you turn your notifications on because I am going to have do my review for Candy and the Gang. It might be right after the show, or if that's too late, it might be on Monday. And then also, what else can I say? Yeah, thanks for joining. And I'll see y'all on my members only live at 7:30. All right, y'all.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining my first live back after.
This was awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate it. All right.
Peace.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.